You've got big projects to tackle, but your day gets swallowed up by repetitive tasks and constant inquiries. It's hard to make progress when you're stuck putting out fires. That's where Element 451's AI assistants come in. Acting like an extra set of hands, you get your time back for the high-impact projects. Ready to reclaim your time? Visit element451.com/AI team to learn more.
Welcome to another episode of The Hidden Gem. I'm your host, Maya Demishkevich, and today we are going to discuss how to build a healthy, sustainable enrollment ecosystem. If you ever wondered how to break down silos, engage multiple departments, develop shared goals, and create a culture where enrollment is everyone's business, you are in the right place. To guide us, I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Melissa Curtis, an accomplished higher education consultant with over 25 years of experience in academic and student affairs. Dr. Curtis has held leadership roles across multiple institutions, including Howard Community College and Austin Community College District, where she led transformative enrollment strategies and built partnerships that left lasting impacts. If you enjoy this episode, I would really appreciate if you could take a moment to rate and review this podcast. Your support helps more people find these valuable conversations. And now let's get started. Welcome to The Hidden Gem, your go-to podcast that shines a spotlight on the strategic role of marketing and communications in shaping the future of community colleges. I'm your host, Maya Demishkevich, CMO at Carroll Community College. Every week, I sit down with community college leaders and industry experts to unpack strategies that work. We'll discuss practical insights and success stories to help you elevate your institution's profile and achieve your strategic goals. Tune in to amplify your community college's success, one conversation at a time. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. And let's get started. Today, I'm very excited to welcome Dr. Melissa Curtis to the Hidden Gem podcast, and we are going to talk about building a healthy, sustainable enrollment ecosystem. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you, Maya. I love this podcast. I'm a big fan, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
You have so much experience in the higher ed space, and you've been consulting and working at different community colleges. So I think our listeners will really benefit from your knowledge and your expertise. And this topic is very important for many colleges. So let's dive in and talk about ecosystem. And what do you actually mean when you say enrollment ecosystem? Because honestly, I haven't heard this term mentioned a lot. So I think it would be helpful for us to kind of set the stage and explain what you mean and why, in your opinion, it's important to take this enrollment ecosystem approach.
Thank you, Maya. Right. So with enrollment, I like to think of it as an ecosystem because I've been influenced by the concept of systems thinking. I'm a practitioner, not a theorist, right? So bear with me as I look to explain this. But I was very influenced by Donella Meadows' thinking in systems. She said the biggest problems can't be solved by fixing one piece in isolation from others. So when you think about that, with an enrollment system, our goal is to bring students in, absolutely. Right. But especially in community colleges and at four-year institutions, we do have the problem of students leaving. And we know that once they leave, it's even harder to bring them back. So we want to think about enrollment as the entire system of students coming in, staying, re-registering all the way through to completion. So with the idea of a system, there's multiple leverage points and feedback loops to make sure that you're getting it right. And Meadows gives the example of just getting a hot bathtub run. Okay, just to keep it simple. But you want to turn on your hot water, you want to turn on your cold water, you want to make sure that your plug is in, right? You want to make sure, did somebody run a shower earlier and is there less hot water in the tank than you realized? Is your best friend going to text you with the most current problem that you really want to hear about, and you're going to get distracted and let too much cold water run, and then you've got to start all over? There's so many different ways that you can be impacted doing something like a simple task of filling up a tub without evaluating all the potential leverage points. It's the same metaphor for when you're thinking about enrollment. So we often think of enrollment as being within the sphere of the enrollment office. We've got recruiting, we've got admissions, right? We're getting students up to the 12th class day. And this tends to be our enrollment space. And this is where that enrollment funnel often lives. However, it's bigger than that. And there are a lot more leverage points that are going to impact the entire system of enrollment. Think about messaging for recruiting, Maya. I mean, this is your area, right? In terms of the communications and the marketing. You've got your recruiters saying things out to incoming students, but you've also got the opportunity to market globally to impact generations to come, to impact the community about the college, to impact employers so that they'll want to send their employees to your college in order to, get their degrees and continue to be promoted. So you've got a whole bunch of things that are impacting that recruiting space. When I think about the enrollment ecosystem, I often imagine like a solar system, these planetary shapes sort of in orbit around a sun or a central star. Okay. So one of them would be that marketing and communication space. Then you've got your admissions, and then you've got your registrar. You have your student financial wellness and your financial aid, but that also then connects to your financial division. That also connects to your development and scholarships and potential support for students. You've got retention, so you have your advisors, but then you've also got your academic affairs, because how classes are taught and how they're sequenced is a real vital part of the ecosystem. Facilities is important as well, right? Do you have the space for students? Do you have the parking? You hear in every survey, students are concerned about parking. And I've been there many, many times where I said, we just can't talk about parking anymore. Yet facilities come up to students. They become concerned about, what does it look like? Is there room? Is it well lit at night? Or if it's an online environment, do they have access to their classes? Do they have their technology, right? I could go into a lot of different areas that are a part of the college. And each of these are in that system and in this sort of controlled system that needs attention in order to ensure you have a healthy enrollment ecosystem.
As you're talking about this, the analogy came to mind. It's almost like our human body, right? Like we have a lot of different systems in our body, from our mind to different organs. And if something is not working, then the whole body is not well, right? Or cannot perform at the highest potential. So it's kind of the same idea, right? So if there is an issue with financing or advising, or maybe marketing is sending its different messages, then the ecosystem is not working the way it should be, right?
That's exactly right. And you want it to be healthy throughout in order to ensure, right? And what you do to your body today could impact it badly 10 years from now. Or positively, right? By adding an extra mile to my run today, that may help me later in the future.
Yeah.
So if you think about one thing that is always on my mind with the enrollment ecosystem is how much attention we pay to that enrollment division. With all of these areas that impact enrollment, somehow we still put the word enrollment on just one division or on one person, right? And then they carry a heavy burden of being responsible for the impact of the entire system. This can create a lack of health within that space. So if you look at, say, the job market today, open up higher ed jobs, Eastern Seaboard, I get that sometimes in my inbox. And 50%, 70% sometimes, they are all admissions and enrollment related jobs that are open. There is an unhealthy turnover rate within these spaces. And I'm certain it's because of the way that we emphasize the responsibility of these offices for what really is an entire system that needs to be attended to.
Do you have any advice on how you can quickly assess whether you are using this ecosystem approach or if your system is broken?
Assessment always starts with a self-assessment. And leaders must go first. And so the best way to assess for this is for your highest leadership, your president, your cabinet, or your senior leadership to assess and find out, are we a healthy organization? One thing that I recommend in my consulting and coaching work for leaders is to just create a very simple template of each of these areas that are within your system. What do you know about them? What are their pain points? Where are they thriving? What do they need? What are their values, Maya? Right? And so to do that type of an exercise helps you understand, how well do I understand what's going on within the system? What am I missing? Where are the blank spots? What's not being attended to? And that's a real quick way to do an assessment and realize, yes, I am supporting and allowing every area within the system to thrive.
So let's say you do this assessment and you understand, okay, my enrollment ecosystem is broken. There are a lot of silos. People are not talking to each other. There's high burnout, high turnover rate. Messaging is not consistent. So you identify all of those issues. And now what? How do you move forward? How do you transform this into a healthy system? What steps do you take?
Sure. And first of all, I love your question because it gets to the heart of what some of our biggest concerns are, right? We've talked so much about breaking down silos and making sure that people are interconnected. And this is the heart of the system, is knowing how they, if a planet is messed up in its orbit, our entire solar system will be challenged, right? If the sun in the center of it is not radiating, the heat that's needed for, these different parts in the system, it's not going to thrive. So those are all a part of what needs to be looked at. But I really want to think, silos aren't bad per se. Each area needs its area of responsibility and accountability. And so by honoring what they do, and recognizing that there's value within these areas of excellence, then you can help them maybe not feel bad about being a silo, right? If you feel good about what you're doing, if you realize you're recognized and honored, you're going to be more likely to share out all the good things that are going on. You also might feel a little safer about sharing what's not going well. So again, with the what do you do as a to go back to that notion, leaders go first. Okay. So a leader must lead culture change at the highest level, and enrollment change is culture change. So how can they demonstrate their commitment to the change and model new behaviors, and what transformations will need to be made in order to create a healthy system? What sacrifices will need to be made? And is that being modeled? So great leadership is oftentimes, the ones that are going to model the way, right? And that goes back to Kouzes and Posner, the leadership challenge, quintessential leadership techniques and decades of research. So if it's being led and it's being understood that this is a safe thing to do, we can change. We expect to change. We expect to look under the hood. People will begin to feel safe about doing it themselves. That's a really important part. You have to identify if you are ready for change, if the leadership is ready for change, and if the college is ready for change. And then in order to assess that, you need to be looking at the values of the organization. how does this enrollment change fit with the values of the college? What are the values of the team? What's possible? And then again, back to that template, what will people be saying and feeling, and how will you respond to them? Right? Those are really important questions to begin asking in order to prepare for that level of change. Understanding then what support everyone needs during the enrollment change process. How will you support? How will you incentivize? How will you celebrate? Who will provide this, and when will it be provided? Down to that level of detail is going to be important assessment to do before you embark on a change initiative. And again, an enrollment, strategic enrollment plan, strategic enrollment goals are culture change, and they should be attended to as such. So then you get to set the plan, right? The leader can set the plan, but they also can allow others to set the plan and then provide their support for it. Okay. And when you set those clear goals and vision for the enrollment change, then ask yourself, what are you going to do when things don't go as planned? Back to modeling the way, one of the most important things that you could do is stick with it, because people will need consistency, and people will need to know that it is okay for us to, course correct mid-change. They'll need to feel safe doing it, and they'll need to believe that they have a foundation on which they can stand on. So these are all different things that can be done to make sure that the organization is ready for change. A lot of it comes to the values. A lot of it comes to the leadership, setting that goals and setting that vision, and ensuring that people realize they are valued for their role within the organization.
One thing you always talk about is that enrollment is everyone's responsibility. So how do we make sure that we set shared goals and that everyone is knows what they're accountable for across different departments? And how do we, come together to bring this vision to life and to achieve those shared goals together?
Sure, right. I really like the idea of shared goals. That's the heart of it, is making sure that everybody has agreed to these goals as being their priority. Steve Jobs will talk about this, right? And if you've read Jobs's biography, he'll talk about how at Apple, he would pull together annually all of its senior leaders and bring them in to their annual leadership meeting, and they would each have kind of what they thought the company should focus on, what their projects were. And together, over a series of days, they would evaluate what is the benefit of this to the college, to our system, to our organization, of course, in Jobs' case, to Apple. What will we be focusing on? And they would emerge oftentimes with only one goal. Now, you tell me, Maya, have you ever heard of college having only one goal?
No, quite the opposite. We have way too many goals, and I think many higher ed institutions can agree. Yeah. So I really like the idea of having one common goal that everyone can work towards. But
That's right.
it can be challenging, right, to shift your mindset and to shift your culture to do something like this.
And it's that shift in mindset that you've got is spot on. And that is the hardest thing to do. We can engage in a lot of activity, right? We do that daily. We fill our calendars. We have our meetings. They're important. I'm not going to, take away from that. There's so much good work going on. But at the end of the day, is it going to lead us to that single goal that we want to have? Will it change our enrollment culture? Sometimes I think about, that shared mindset. I will go back to that statement that leaders go first. And I want to highlight something that Simon Sinek talks about sometimes. And if you look up his video about where he's talking about the young man who works for the two different hotels and which hotel he prefers the most, he says he prefers the one where he feels the best. He feels the most welcomed. He feels the most engaged. Another thing that Sinek says is he highlights how CEOs of organizations will so often say they work for the client. They work for their customer. Sounds great. And I don't deny that they believe this, right? It's true. You keep your clients and customers in mind. Sounds really great for shareholders too. However, how often, Cynic asks, how often do they connect with clients and customers? Not very often. They're usually spending their time with their senior leaders, who are spending their time with their teams, who are then spending their time with their clients and their customers. So the CEO spends most of their valuable time with their direct leadership. And then their direct leadership spends most of their valuable time with their teams. Okay? So think about this from the mindset of a college. We love it when our presidents say, I'm here for the students. We want to know that, right? There's nothing wrong with saying that. I think it's really valuable to keep the students in mind. A senior leader is there for their leadership, who is then there for their leadership, who leads the advisors and the faculty members and, the athletic coaches that see the students every day. So for the health of that organization, for everybody to march to that shared goal, the individuals within the organization need to know that they are a part of, an equal part of the values of the team. So that is that mindset goal. And it goes back to that notion of just looking at a template and making sure that you are caring for who is on your team on a daily basis. So that is where the leader's ability to share and inspire a vision will be important, will sometimes be challenged, and will be proven. So inspiring a shared vision is, again, one of those top 5 leadership traits. Does your senior leadership team or does your next level leadership team also have the skill set to inspire a shared vision? And if not, get them training. Help with professional development around leadership and management techniques so they are secure and confident in their ability to lead a team through this change initiative. Because it's equally important for every leader at any part of the organization to know how to lead and carry that vision. That's what's going to keep that shared goal undiluted. And that major, radiant leadership concept of making sure that everybody is getting the attention and the energy and the ability to thrive within this change initiative. Okay. So, training, right? Training, leading, training, management techniques, and then also tracking progress. If you've gotten the training, if you've shared the vision, hopefully people will feel safe tracking their progress. I heard from a leader one time who had the most amazing commitment to tracking progress and looking at data. And weekly, they would have meetings where somebody in the organization would spend 20 minutes on a virtual call that the entire college could listen to. And that could be somebody, say, an admissions specialist, talking about, here's our current data, here's how we look at it, this is what it means to us. And then the next week, it could be somebody from the food pantry. The next week, it could be the coordinator of health sciences, right? Each week, somebody would be providing information about their data, how they measure it, and how it connects to the ultimate goal. And so what they were doing there, what that president was doing, was valuing each area's use of data, validating it, and ensuring that the entire college knew what was ongoing and happening in each of these areas of the system. Because it's important to highlight and to shine light on what's going on. Otherwise, you begin to feel within your silo, I'm the only one doing anything, right? I mean, you can begin to feel that in some of your darkest moments of being very busy and not knowing what the value is. And if you can realize, wait, I have partners all across the college that are doing similar good work within their areas of accountability, their areas of responsibility, and we're all working together for this shared goal, then you begin to feel confident about what you're doing. So if you're tracking data, a lot of times people like to do public dashboards. Those are super smart, right? You can just keep it really simple with the red light, yellow light, green light. Where are we? And if you have ensured that it's a safe space and valued everybody on your team, they'll be a lot less likely to hide those red lights,
Right.
right? Uh, it's okay to say, we didn't make it. Show them some love anyway, because they will get there. And if you see that red light, that's another way for you to examine what's happening in the system where this is a negative feedback loop. What do I need to fix?
Have you ever seen an institution that only has one goal? Have you come across any?
Not an educational
No.
institution, Maya, but it's very aspirational.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and if you say that my one goal is, ensuring students come, stay, and graduate, could that be one, or does that have to be three?
Sounds like 3 to me,
Darn.
right?
Right. Okay, so let's go with three.
Do you think different departments should come together, for example, continuing education and credit side, come together and create one enrollment plan and then continue meeting to kind of refine it and work towards those goals? Or do you think it's okay to have separate plans for different divisions or different areas? What's in your experience? What are you seeing? What suggestions do you have?
There should be one plan.
Okay.
There should be one plan. Again, it should start at the leadership. That said, that plan needs tactical direction across the college. One of my favorite things for enrollment planning, Maya, is to have a tri-chair system. And what I think is the best plan for this is to have somebody who is responsible for the enrollment, whoever your enrollment leader is, have your academic leader, and maybe that's somebody that knows both the credit and non-credit space, right? Or knows the academic and the workforce space, however it's divided within your institution. And then have your marketing lead, because the messaging internally and externally is going to be so vital for enrollment, as well as just knowing what our brand is. That is so important to the expression of enrollment across the college. If you can set up a strategic enrollment team that has those three chairs in it, you will be able to cover so much of the institution and so much of the system that people won't be in the dark. People will be heard and they will be able to collaborate. It becomes a really good partnership.
I agree with you, but I wanted to hear it from you. So I do think there needs to be a one plan, because otherwise, how do we find those efficiencies? How do we know what others are doing? How can we move forward towards our goal together? Which I think is important, because we do have limited resources and we need to figure out how we can do it on a limited budget. So we are running out of time, but I wanted to see if there's anything else I didn't ask you that you felt like it was important to add to this conversation. Maybe it's advice for somebody who's looking to initiate this transformation, or maybe it's something else.
If I could leave you with a few things, just a reminder that this is a full system and everything does interchange with each other. And attending to the health of the system is one of the most important things any leader can do. One thing I haven't said specifically that should be said is that role of communication. Communicate, 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 formally and informally. And sometimes informally takes the most energy, right? Be very strategic about the communication and over communicate rather than under communicate, because people want to see that and hear that for that sense of transparency. Say, I care. Say, I hear you. Say, I see you. Say, this is what we're doing. This is who we are. This is our brand. This is what we value, and you are a part of the system that we value. Finally, when everyone knows they are a part of the system, allow them their autonomy and their excellence and their ability to work their own area, right? So they feel safe and heard and recognized and respected. And the enrollment goals that you have will begin to be realized. But again, back to the beginning, it's an entire system. You need to know where the feedback loops are, where the negative feedback is, where the positive feedback is, where are things being distracted? Where is it not working? How do you shore that up? And where do you want to celebrate what's really working well?
Yeah, that's a great advice. So I really appreciate you taking this time to share your knowledge and expertise. And I think the things you shared are super useful. It resonated with me, and I've already taken a lot for myself, what I can maybe do in a different way or approach in a certain way. So I really appreciate you taking the time. I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable. Let's keep this conversation going on LinkedIn at Maya Demishkevich. I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, and suggestions for what you would like to see next on this podcast. Remember, by tuning in to The Hidden Gem, you're not just listening to a podcast, you are joining a movement of amplifying community colleges' success. Don't miss out. Subscribe to this podcast and notifications about our future episodes. Share it with your colleagues and college leaders to help make our colleges stand out. Together, let's make an impact. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you will like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher education technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea and feature selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Jamie Hunt, Jenny Fowler, Eddie Francis, Brian Gross, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.